Source Nation. Join us now for The Pendulum with Dr. Samori Swygert, a platform that encourages the 4Ds of philosophy: discussion, discourse, dialogue, and debate. Prepare to travel from the past, present, and have discussions of future implications and projections with a correlation to African Americans. These topics are intended to grab your attention, cause contemplation, and encourage some form of action. From the world to the White House to the hood and everything good, the pendulum is swinging your way. Source Nation, here is your host, Dr. Samori Swygert.
Source Nation, hello, hello, hello. How you doing? Thank you for tuning in with Dr. Samori Swygert, a.k.a. Doc Swag, on The Pendulum every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Once again, we're in the saddle. We'll have a great, great show for you today. So let's just get started. I'm going to wish you the tremendous blessings in health, family, love, career success, spiritual progress, and the accomplishment of your dreams. Now, Source Nation, let's get really intellectually intimate. Before we get it all started, you already know the routine. Get your coffee, get your wine, get your water if you want to turn it to wine, and make sure that you pass me my shoehorn so I can put my foot all up in the issues of the day. Make sure you share a link to your friends on Facebook, Twitter, and other social media platforms. I'm your host, Dr. Samori Swygert, a.k.a. Doc Swag. I want to welcome you to the show, The Pendulum. Now, a pendulum is an apparatus that people associate with a clock. It gauges time and space. It traverses through time in a constant backward and forward motion. Some would say retrograde to anterograde. And this is what we do throughout the show as we engage topics, because we have to connect the dots from the past, the present, and into the future. The show is designed to encourage the 4Ds I call debate, dialogue, discussion, and discourse. Gather your friends and family as we prepare to travel from the past, the present, and have discussions of future implications and projections with the correlation to African Americans. From the world to the White House to the hood and everything good, the pendulum is swinging your way. Source Nation, today is going to be a very, very, very great show. We always have great shows, but today is going to be a very, very great show. On social media, if you're on Twitter, if you're on Instagram, if you're on Facebook and other different platforms, you've been seeing this hashtag #MeToo, right? And the hashtag #MeToo is supposed to, how can I say, it is supposed to exemplify and bring awareness to the harassment and the disrespect, the disregard, the marginalization, and they really touch on the harassment, the assaults and the rape of women in America when they are, let's just say, under the authority environment. But it goes way beyond that. It goes way beyond that, especially when we talk about black women, okay? Black women have a unique experience in America, right? What do I mean when I say that? America, when we talk about women in America, black women make up a big contribution to that demographic of women in America. But like I said, black women have a unique, a distinct, and a different relationship with America than any other race of women in America. Why do I say that? Well, we can talk about eugenics. We can talk about sterilization. We can be talking about how the system, since the inception of slavery and Europeans have colonized these shores, bodies, their uterus have been used as breeding grounds, how they've been used as manufacturing plants for human resources. See, when we talk about colonization, slavery in America, well, when we talk about white women, it's a different phenomenon that they experience in America. See, when white women were impregnated, their children were not sold off into slavery. No, matter of fact, during the system of slavery, oftentimes, if that white household had children and they had boys and girls, well, those offspring were there. They would take over. They were there to take over the plantation of business, the economics, as the parents passed on. Plantations transferred down generations. But when we talk about black women in their wombs. No, they kept black women pregnant. They were pumping out labor. You know, they were going into labor to produce labor, the human mechanics, the human machines for the rice, the cotton, the tobacco, the indigo, right? So they were constantly that. Not only that, black women were also in the fields. Black women, when we talk about the Me Too, that sexual harassment, that sexual assault, that rape, it wasn't just at the desk in the office that we talk about now. It wasn't just the Hollywood casting couch that we talk about now. It's not just the recording studios that we talk about now. This goes all the way back into the fields, back into the shack, and in the master's room in the slave quarters. So the colonization of the black woman's body has been serious. And we can also, if we look just beyond the body, we can get into the economics of it. We can get into everything, and that's what we're going to do. So our guest today is going to be Dr. Phile Chionesu. She's the originator, the creator of the Million Woman March. It occurred in 1997, and she put it together to speak to all the atrocities, all the marginalization and the oppression that black women have endured, they are enduring, and try to prevent, try to empower, and come up with interventional methods and strategies to stop this in the future, corral this, okay? So she Dr. Phile Chionesu has done this, and next week will be the Million Woman March reunion that she's coordinating, she's spearheading. She has a group of people that mastermind that they are putting this together in Philadelphia. She's going to speak to us about all of this, okay? So I'm not even going to pontificate any longer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that we give a big shout-out to our sponsors because they make all of this possible. So with that being said, let's give a shout-out to Zuliana Health, Wellness, and Fitness, Paper and Films Productions, Revolution Mills, Renovations, Meet My Types Matchmaking, Blend to Blend Juice Bar Boutique, Urban Grandstand Digital, and New Covenant of Praise Worship Center. So Source Nation, we're going to take a quick break. Chionesu. Peace.
Source Nation, stay tuned. You're listening live to The Pendulum with Dr. Samori Swygert. Hey you, do you know your history? Do you know your culture? We have a beautiful history full of triumph, determination, perseverance, love, hope, faith, family, and community. And as your great griot, I want to share that history with you. A griot? It's pronounced griot, or in English, a griot. It's a West African term for the person who keeps up with the genealogy, the history, the culture, shares the stories of the people, and so much more. We're like a walking library, full of knowledge and ready to share. I'm going to take you into the history and the culture of your people from all over the world. A griot's purpose is to serve the people. That's right. As the great griot, I am here to serve you. Because the more you know, the more you grow. Wait, that's not my quote. Oh well, it's the truth.
The Great Griot, a brand new Black History web series. Check us out online at www.thegreatgriot.com or subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/thegreatgriot.
Welcome back, Source Nation. You're listening live to The Pendulum with Dr. Samori Swygert.
All right, Source Nation. So we're back in the saddle, right? So I was telling you that we were going to have our guest, Dr. Phile Chionesu. and she's going to be telling us about the Million Woman March and all the different things, different issues that will be addressed. But it's important that we lay this out clear, because a lot of times we get things mixed. We get a lot of our we get a lot of our issues and our messages mixed. And part of the mixing is, when we just hear women's rights, oftentimes that message gets diluted down. We remember, I think it was the beginning of this year, where we had like the Women's March on Washington. That was predominantly white women out there. I was there getting footage, and I was out there. I can talk because I was actually there getting footage. And it was predominantly white. We had some sisters out there, but it's a different message. There is still privilege that is afforded white women that's not afforded to our black sisters. The biggest beneficiaries of affirmative action and many of the laws that get passed are white women. It's not black women. So whether we're talking about Sojourner Truth's need to remind America that ain't I a woman, that's real. That's real. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring in Dr. Phile Chionesu. I like that rhyme. Dr. Phile, how you doing?
Oh, greetings. My hotep to everyone.
Yes. It's great having you in the saddle with us.
Oh, yes. It's wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to be black.
Yes. It is beautiful. We're proud, and we're happy to have somebody like you giving voice unapologetically for our sisters, our queens, the daughters, the nieces, our grandmothers that often get marginalized, neglected, forgot about. And so, when you said that you'd be willing to come on and talk about it and share the reasons for the Million Woman March, that reunion that will be occurring, I was ecstatic. So if you could just tell the audience a little bit about yourself, that would be great.
Absolutely. My pleasure. And thank you so much again, my brother, for inviting me to be with you and be with the family. I am basically from Philly, PA, and I've been, as they say, I'm a native, I guess you can say. I don't try to say that real, beyond a certain point, because, I don't like to connect myself to anything that is really established by Europeans. So, but just to give you a point of reference, I'm from Philly and been here all of my life. Of course, I've traveled, pretty widely, but Philly has always been my base. And, went to through the public school system. Even at some point in my earlier childhood, my parents sent me to Catholic school. And I'm going to say that because in sixth grade, I got kicked out of Catholic school. So I say that because, yep, it's true. And again, my parents, we didn't know anything about being black or Africa or anything like that. But instinctively, even as a child, I somehow knew that I was just never a Negro, never. And I never had the tolerance for a certain type of authority or so-called authority or, other kinds of things. Even as a child, I found it very difficult to adjust. So I was a little unruly as a child, and they told my mom that you're going to have problems with her. Well, yes, they were going to have problems with me. There's no question. So, I went through, again, the public school system and, as somewhat, some might even say as a troubled child, because even, in public school or even through my younger years, again, I just never really could conform to the system. And again, I never knew why. Because we were never taught, the various things that people now have access to the greatest extent, and that is about our history, culture, traditions, and so forth. I didn't learn about that until I was roughly 20, 21 years of age, and at that time began to read about Black movement and so forth. I wasn't old enough for the 60s or or anything like that. So by the time I got to college, which is why I went to college, by the way, I read about the 60s and, the black students and what they were doing, and I was so excited about that. And so, I decided, I'm going to go to college because I want to be a part of that. I didn't go to college to be a part of college. I went to college to be a part of the movement. But unfortunately, by the time I got there, the movement had pretty much dissipated. So I did, in fact, join the Black Student Congress at that time, became the president, actually, and, did whatever I could to be radical on campus. I was in the religion department. My major was religion, by the way. I was a religion major and a pre-law minor. And during my time at college, I was at two colleges at one time, by the way. I was at Temple University and then Drexel. And during my time at Drexel, I met a very, very brilliant brother who used to come to our station at Drexel and record his independent work. He was a well-known journalist and, had his own independent recording and also articles and stuff, but it was called Black Times Audio in Black Times Journal. And I used to sit and watch this brilliant man prepare for his tapings and for his other kinds of independent media kinds of things that he did. And I just found him to be amazing. He just it was just something really rare and fantastic about him. And that particular brilliant man happened to be Mumia Abu-Jamal. So I met Mumia as a college student, and that's why today I kind of feel like, I'm pretty good at what I do when it comes to communications, particularly in terms of broadcasting and media, because I saw and learned and had the opportunity to interact with one of the best. It just so happened we were able to develop a really brother-sister relationship because at that time in Philly, the community was really a community. Black folks was really about some stuff. And Mumia would walk through the community with his son on his shoulders, his little 3-4-year-old son holding on to him, and he walked through the community, this very well-known journalist. But this was our brother. There was that kind of reality for us that you could be this, that, or the other, but on a day-to-day basis, you was our brother or sister. And so we got the opportunity to really bond with certain people, Mumia being one. So, I got married and got pregnant. I was still in school. And so when we had a naming ceremony for my son, in 81. My son was born in March. We had a naming ceremony for him in June, and we had it at a place called the AFCOM Learning Center, a very progressive African-centered Black liberation kind of church. And so when the elder said, who will take care of this child if his father, for whatever reason, is unable to do so? And it was Mumia Abu-Jamal that stood up and said, I will. So, yeah. Wow. So at that point, Mumia became my son's godfather. And approximately 6 months later, Mumia was almost murdered. That is when the situation happened, of course, where a police officer was killed by another police officer, by the way. Mumia was charged with the murder and has been on death row ever since, even though now he is in general population. So let me say he's not in death row, but he's still incarcerated. So that started me on a whole nother journey or, kind of mission. I became a legal runner for Mumia when he was incarcerated. I was pregnant with my other son, Imhotep, at that time. And realizing that law could not be something that I would continue to be interested in, so I kind of left school for a minute. So to just kind of fast forward, that's a little bit about me. From that point, it went on into community activism. It went on into serious kinds of interaction dealing with apartheid or anti-apartheid rather, and other kinds of things dealing with police brutality, even at that time, and so forth and so on, and just growing culturally. I didn't have my own dance troupe. I was at that point we didn't call it spoken word, we called it a poet, and doing things with the arts and culture primarily, but also very political, particularly dealing with things that were more inclined to black nationalism, and then, of course, developing or adding on Pan-Africanism. And so I've now been doing that for at least 25 years straight. And I do say straight. I have to say that nowadays because people, when you start talking about women's issues, for some reason people want to equate that with either feminism or some other stuff. And so I have to always make it clear that I love black men immensely, enormously. Okay, and so my mission right now is, of course, to deal with the various issues as it pertains to our sisters, because as we have this dialogue and others, surely our people will agree, at least those with a certain type of intelligence, will realize that there's something desperately wrong that has to be addressed. Of course, there's something desperately wrong that's happening to all of our people, but there's a void that's being really neglected, and it is our women and girls. And if you think what I just said is not true, all you got to do is sit outside of a public school any day of the week. Watch those girls. Okay, and I think you will then agree that we better be doing something real quick, because that's going to be somebody's mommy in the future, you see. And so if that's not dealt with in a way that makes sense, we're going to be dealing with another generation.
Wow. That's a lot right there that you've just said. Just within the last 2-3 sentences. Very true, and we're going to tackle that. So with that being said, Dr. Phile, I want to ask you, how did you? Well, let me ask you this question: in America, what ways do you see black women being marginalized and oppressed? Because it's like I said in the intro, the black woman's experience and relationship to America is unique, it's distinct, and it's completely different than all other women in America. So I just kind of want you to shed some knowledge on that.
Well, I mean, it goes without saying that there's no other woman in this country, and I mean that, and I will debate anyone in regards to that, that has gone through the types of things that the African woman, the black woman, has gone through in this country. And even though one might say, well, the indigenous peoples, the Indians, which of course part of them was us too, they did experience some very horrific things. Well, absolutely, they are our allies. We're very close. But at the same time, we have to look at something that is very distinct to us, for us, and that is that some of our ancestors were, in fact, kidnapped, brought here, and then forced into labor. There was no agreement, no time, period. And this lasted for quite a while. And it's still in effect, by the way. It's just a little more sophisticated. But the point being that the horrendous treatment of servitude, and it's even worse than that, is, like none other, you see. And as such, the peculiar institution, we're talking about an institution here, not just an act of war. We're talking about an institution. That makes it a little different from a whole, from another vantage point. And it has to be understood as such, because that's what we're dealing with today. We're dealing with not only the causes and effects, but we're dealing with the actual reality of how that has escalated and now has advanced into a very sophisticated mode of operations. You see, so whereas other peoples have at least been able in some manner to maintain their language, their specific cultures or traditions, African people in this country did not. So again, when we say that, when we go back to our women, other groups of women, and again, the only thing that comes even close to that is the so-called native indigenous peoples. Anybody, no one else. We can't even have the conversation about other women. First of all, let's be real clear about that, because we was washing their dishes, their clothes, and their drawers,
and feeding their babies,
and not just feeding their babies, suckling their babies, nursing their babies. See, not just feeding them. So the point is that. And doing this under a type of system and conditioning where you had to, because the harm to your child, the harm to your husband, to your family, was real. So you had no choice. So our women have gone through several hundreds of years of that kind of brutality, treatment, and degradation, period. And so the children had to watch that, and so forth and so on. So now, here we are talking about women's rights. Really? I mean, okay, there are some relevant things in this day and age, but you have to understand, surely, that whatever people are talking about today can't possibly be in the same context of what African women, black women, have experienced, endured, and so forth. And so to lessen that reality or to play games with it, because that's really what it is, we're being played. We're being coerced or shall we say maneuvered into dealing with other issues for other people, and it helps to shadow over the realities of what have happened to us as women and girls. The fact that we were routinely raped, you see, treated in the most, I'll just say inhumane, to put it mildly. So how do we equate somebody else's rights with that?
Right.
We can't, and we should not, and we must not. And so, again, this whole notion of fighting for women's rights is cute to me. And I don't mean that facetiously, but I'm trying to be nice at this point, because when I think about it, I get really upset. So I'm trying to calm myself down, really, by using the word like cute. We're really being played. And it's a very sophisticated form of exploitation in a different kind of way, using our issues and problems and trying to connect that to somebody else's, and make it appear like they sympathize with us. But in reality, let me show you how calculated this really is. Planned Parenthood, for example. Now note, I think a woman has the right to do whatever they wish to do with their body, but not based on somebody else's terms or somebody else's agenda. Let's be real clear about that, you see. So this whole thing about Planned Parenthood and we should fight for it and all of that, really? For who? I mean, really? Because who said so? And do we not know who started Planned Parenthood? Do we not know that the eugenics societies in this country were very prominent throughout the U.S. and very visible? They weren't hiding, by the way. They were very clear about what their position was and the elimination of our people. And we want to now support in such a way where we are fighting, for Planned Parenthood. For who? For the funding? For whom? Really? And don't get me wrong. I do know that botched abortions did happen years ago. It may still be happening, but that's not the issue or the point here. that's really that's really in this mix. And so when you go back to hearing about Women's March and all of that, these people saw the Million Woman March in 1997, and they saw 2 million black women without them. Because up to then, they called the shots. And even the faces that look like us was so entrenched with them that it was still their agenda. So let's be clear and let's be real. And yes, I said it. So
I love it. I love the passion. I love it. I love it. You know, but you know what? I want to say something, Dr. Phile. It's what you're saying is so true, and I often have these conversations with some of my my friends. They're women, and it's like I have to stop short because I'm a man, and I don't want to engage too much in the dialogue. But, you know, I try to tell them about Planned Parenthood, the origins, what the mission was behind it. But then it goes into, well, you're a man, you don't. It's just like, you know, I hang the conversation up because of the privilege and position that I have as a male in the country. But, you know, I'm so happy to have a sister explain really what Planned Parenthood really was, what the agenda is.
Right.
That is population control. That's eradication,
right.
Systematically.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
This
Absolutely.
This isn't somebody having your best medical interest in mind. That's not the case.
Right. And see, that's part of the trickery, my brother. These people utilize facts and situations and so forth to really manipulate, what they really want done. And this has been going on for years, and many of our so-called leaders have been complicit. And so finally, the time has come where we say, no, that's not going to keep going down like that. It can't. And again, what a sister wants to do, and I'm saying a black woman, because, see, a lot of people run around now calling everybody sister. I don't. I'm not going to do that. Mm-hmm. And I would, advise everyone to be very careful about that because, that too is another game. We're all sisters. No, we're not. No, we're not. Let's not do that. I mean, really? We are getting so wound up into other people's psychosis. We got our own. Mm-hmm. We really do. Mm-hmm. Just like our own everything else. We have our own history, our own cultures, our own, you name it. So we're being moved into other people's everything now. And we have to now really focus on how that's happening, why that's happening, because the clock is ticking. It really is. We have run out of time because they've already used us for what they wanted, and that is to build this country. Now they have new Negroes, and they're going to weed part of them out. So anyone that's saying anything serious, strong, black, real, true, things of that nature, we really in some serious trouble. They're going to try to get rid of all of us. They're going to keep a handful of us now. That's
black
right.
Identity extremists.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, I saw it. Mm-hmm. I did see that, my brother. But, again, this is why the Million Woman March and its universal movement is right on time. We're on point.
Yes.
We are.
Yes.
And so, again, I'm going to go more into that a little later on, but I want to just go back for a moment and just say how we have to be very careful about other people and what they're saying and what they're doing. And, again, your question, or we have to start asking more questions, and it's this. With all the stuff that you see popping up lately with a Black Women's March, and they had the audacity to start off some of their PR with, in the 20-year anniversary of the Million Woman March, and then went off into something else that not only was nowhere near about the Million Woman March, something that we would not even begin to either advocate, embrace, or even really talk about. Okay? So I'm just saying we've got to be a little more astute and a little more intelligent about what's really going on and not buy into it. What?
Excellent. So with that being said, Dr. Phile, why don't you tell the audience what will be the issues and what should people look to take away from your Million Woman March reunion? Well, first of all, when is it going to be and where is it going to be for the listener?
Well, we worked very hard for 20 straight years. As quiet as it's kept, we never stopped. And we've done this without any corporate sponsoring, grants, because that's the way it was given to me to do. It's an ancestral mission. It's a divine mission. And I was told specifically about certain things to do and not to do. And one of them was to be sure not to buy into this system, particularly as it pertained to that corporate money and those grants. And we have never had it, never. So this is one reason why people have not known or heard that we were continuing to work, because we just didn't have the finances nor the interest, really, to always be in the spotlight. That's dangerous stuff. And so, when you're doing work, sometimes it's not about you having everybody to know about it. It's particularly at a particular time. Because when you look at movements, once that movement gets a certain type of notoriety, it draws not only factors that is there to destroy you, but then the government starts coming in on you. And that was one reason why over the years we never bought into those grants and corporate sponsoring, because we knew that once we reached the point of development, of growth and so forth, that was going to be an easy way for them to accuse us of something. Whether you did it or not, doesn't matter. Once they say it, you then got to work your way out of it and either spend time and dollars to disprove what you're being charged with. So, see, they're going to never get us on that kind of stuff, because we were smart enough to pay close attention to how they've operated with others over the years. So my point is that what our people are going to see from this 20-year anniversary is several things. One, a clear, unrelenting commitment to self-determination. Two, a very strategic, well-rounded, holistic mode of operations that covers from A to Z. And while the primary deals with our women and our girls, the fact of the matter is that what we do is for and about our families and communities. The advancement as such, the embetterment, a better quality of life for our families and community, and certainly with that, real liberation, real justice. And we've worked 20 years to make that happen, or at least to be able to have some input or to be, directly connected to assisting in that happening. So our people will see that. They will see and know that we're taking our rightful places in the struggle. We've always been in it, but historically speaking, our women, we know this to be a fact. Our women were regulated or relegated to certain areas of things, and most, if not all, the recognition or whatever was, given to other people, even though it was the women who did most of the work. Okay. Well, our sisters never really had a problem with that. But unfortunately, what has happened is that has been taken for granted. And that has lended to some other things as well. And so now that's got to stop too, you see. So our people will see now the development or the next steps in an actual movement, in fact, a universal movement. Black women have never had a movement. As a people, we've had movements, but black women have never had movements. Students have even had a movement. It was the black student movement. There was a civil rights movement, and even though there were a few black women who, were recognized in it, it was primarily run by the men. you see,
Right.
and the women just took their places and, whatever. So I'm saying there's never been a bona fide actual movement for the black woman until now. And so that's what we bring to the table. And with that, bring literally direct action kinds of initiatives, programs, etc. For example, starting in January, introduced to our National Black Homeschooling Network. They will also be introduced to our National African Historical Preservation Society. They will also be introduced to our National African Holistic Health and Healing Society. You see, so, and I can go on and on for almost everything that we have talked about as a people. MWM has looked at carefully to the best of our ability at this stage of our development and have begun to put components together to address the various issues, but also to institutionalize, as one of my elders told me to do, institutionalize the work, the vision, the mission, you see, so that on a day-to-day basis, we have operations going. We have selected 7 sister cities that we will be doing work in during the next 3 years. And then after those 3 years, we'll select 7 more. But for those 3 years, we're looking at making certain that we establish in a community in 7 cities that addresses either or that provides either education, health, and or arts and culture. In 7 cities, MWM now as a universal movement is committed to do something in each one of those cities that will offer our people one or all of those things on a regular basis. And it's independent. That's our mission. See, and so, we worked on this for like I said, 20 years. And with that, of course, developing our own, some say economic component, and we'll say that for the sake of conversation, but MWM focuses on what we call finance building and wealth development, or finance development and wealth building. Let's put it that way. Because economics, and note, this is, see again, these people tell us this stuff and we just grab onto it. And economics is very important. But most of our people look at it or understand it in a context that really is a little strange, because it's a study and a field and a discipline and so forth. But a lot of our people look at it as if it is about money. And it's not always about money. You see, economics is really about the distribution or the understanding or the structuring of or whatever of goods and services, which is about money, of course, but it's more complex than that, and it lends to other things. So what we realize is, and here's a perfect example to show you why you have to be careful with what they tell us. And they gave us, well, you all need to do economic development, community economics. They gave us all this stuff. But do you realize when you talk about when you talk to people that have wealth and finances, do you ever notice that they don't use the term economics too much unless they talk about somebody else? That's not a part of the program for them. That's a game. And that game is totally about the manipulation, really, of a whole other group of people. But I won't go into that right now. My point is this, that we focus on stuff that's just not real. And stop putting this over here, please. That's just not real. And at the same time, we have got to now act as if we are more intelligent. And so we're going to do that. And again, we will focus more on financial development and wealth building, because other people look at generational stuff. So when you're teaching economics, okay, anyway, we'll go into that at another point. So these are some of the things that we're focusing on with MWM. And with that, we do have economic development as basically as people understand it, but we also bring in finance development and wealth building. That's very important. And with that, the development of our own goods and services. So we've created something called M4. M4 is the Million Woman Movement's manufacturing, media, merchandising, and media, merchandising, manufacturing, and it's one other one for the four.
Got the media
marketing.
Okay.
That's what it is, and it's called the M4. All right, so it's the MWM M4, whereby from those units we are able to literally make certain that we're able to advance economically / financially. When you're dealing with media, marketing, manufacturing, and merchandising, that's business beyond. And so
that's right.
We've already figured out how we are going to not only build what it is that we need to build, but how to sustain it, you see. And so with that, we've created cadres. For example, if you are an artist and in any genre, and you want to connect to something that will help you to promote your art or help you to get, gigs with your art or collaborate with other artists or whatever, then you want to come to the M4 because M4 is media, marketing, merchandising, and manufacturing, you see. But we have a selected group that we're reaching out to. We call them our artivists. You see, because we want brothers and sisters who are not just artists for the sake of being artists. We want brothers and sisters who are doing something with their art or want to do something with their art beyond just the regular, sing, dance, write, whatever. We call them artivists. So that's some of what they're going to hear and learn about. They're going to learn about our 20 sister saints. Yes, we now are getting ready to install 20 black women that are ancestors. Some are from antiquity and some are contemporary times. Because we have to make certain that we keep the history of our women in our minds and in our eyes.
Yes.
And so we have Queen Mother Moore, Catherine Dunham, Nina Simone, of course, Mother Rosa Parks, Amy Johnson Garvey, Madam C.J. Walker, Nandy the Maroon, Heshepah. These are some of our sister saints, you see, because we are developing a movement that has a sisterhood and a brotherhood, by the way. And what we ask our, members, for lack of a better word, to do is that every year, in recognition of our sister saints, we ask our members to do something on that day, either the Earth Day or the Ascension Day. Do something on that day, even if it's just send a message out. This is so-and-so's Earth Day or Ascension Day. Or, do a poetry session or a sister circle or a discussion or a film, but something on that day. Send a card in memory of so-and-so on this day, I greet you, whatever. See, this is living legacy stuff. This is honoring our ancestors and not waiting for Black History Month. You see?
That right there is very important, Dr. Soleil. I don't mean to cut you off. I just had to interject because that's important right there. Because in today's society, you see whites do it all the time. Just had Columbus Day. It's nothing for them to talk about what's happening at the Kennedy Center or Rockefeller Plaza or there's always Carnegie Mellon. Or George Washington University or George Mason University, there's always some recognition thrown in your face about the greatness and legacy of white America, but you don't really have it as prominent and as frequent to refresh the black human psyche of our greatness and our legacy and our heritage. And they're not teaching it in schools like that. And so if they're not doing that in the schools, and we're also losing that at home as the families get younger and younger, and we get more consumed with entertainment and social media, and we lose touch with history, where is this history being translated and transmitted? So that's where I want, and I also wanted to thank you because you actually put the bug in my ear about the Ascension Day of Queen Mother Ya Santewa's Ascension was yesterday, the 17th of October. I wasn't aware of that until you had told me about that, and so what I did was I posted that on my Facebook page so that everybody else would know because you transmitted that heritage to me. So.
Yes.
Just wanted
to. Well, thank you so much, and I'm glad. See, that's what we're talking about, and we oftentimes use these phrases, each one teach one. Well, you know, that's what it's about, and that's what MWM is about and is going to do. As a matter of fact, one of our first projects is to produce our own educational materials for the children to start with, and then we'll grow from there. And so, of course, one of the first things is going to be our own flashcards and our own coloring books and things of that nature. And we'll start with the Sister Saints. Okay, and so we're going to also produce and this will be for next year because, see, this year kicks things off. We're going to do a full year of celebration of the Million Woman March and now raising up the mother of civilization. And so this is a kickoff, but we've got more to come, I guarantee you. But again, for next year, what we'll be having ready for, if not Black History Month, certainly Women's History Month, we're going to be producing several things, like I said, that the coloring book, the flashcards, but we're also preparing for other kinds of things for our people, such as a primer, a reparations primer for our children. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
So that way our children that are 3, 4, 5 years old, why are we waiting to tell our children about certain things such as reparations or whatever topic it is that we know has to be dealt with in the future? What are we doing to help give them that information now so that by the time they're 10, 12, 15, they got it? Not only do they have it, they are so empowered with it. You see, so we're making certain that we're able to read to our children not just the regular kinds of stories. And I'm not saying that, nowadays with all the children books, there's so many different types of things for them. But I'm saying on issues or on things that we need to help them to better understand. And so, again, MWL will be producing information or, that's for children in the way that they can understand it, visually and in the wording, so that again, by the time they're 10, 9, or what have you, you say certain things to them, they know exactly what you're talking about. That's what mothers do. That's what we're going to do to make certain that our children really understand this system from our point of view. We have to do that.
Well, Dr. Phile, we did some good talking, but you know what? There are probably people listening, and they're probably like, I like this, but where do I go to find this information? So let the people know about where they can, what they can expect, where, and when.
They can go to our website at www.millionwomanmarch20.com. Again, www.millionwomanmarch20.com. They can email us, of course, at nationalmwm@aol.com. Again, nationalmwm@aol.com. And they can always call 267 267-636-3802. Again, 267-636-3802. We really need our people's support because, again, we don't get grants and corporate sponsoring. So we really kind of right now are depending on our people to help make this reunion all that it needs to be. We're asking folks to join our or even assist by becoming what we call a support member. Doesn't require you to do anything except to make a donation. It's so we call it 1 in a million, okay? And so you can go to the website, look for donate, and you can become a 1 in a million support member, and you can start with $1. Okay, that's why it's called 1 in a million. You can donate from $1 to $1 million, but $1. And see, and really this is kind of a test because we figure if our people can't contribute $1 to something of this magnitude, then we
really shouldn't be complaining.
I don't know. Not only should they not be complaining, we say they need to turn in their black card.
There you go. There you go. Turn in the black card.
Because there's no excuse. There's no excuse. That's right. Exactly. Yeah. There's no excuse for that.
We got money. We buy red bottles.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But you know what? Nowadays, chewing gum is $1.
Right.
Right? A diet soda. And some potato chips. So our position is, really? You're going to not send that? Really? Well, let me tell you. Okay, that's not going to work for you psychologically. Not now. Not going to work for you. You get these people $1 for nothing. And here we doing this work, and you will want to give $1? Okay. Let's see how that works for you.
But they will want the benefits and rewards when they come. They will want the benefits and rewards when they come.
Oh, yeah. Well, we know, my brother, because, again, in observing not only these 20 years, but also the history of what has been going on for a while, there has to be a change. I think when we spoke, I mentioned to you that one of my favorite sayings is that when one or a people continues to do the same thing over and over again, and expecting a different results, then that's a form of insanity. That's one of my favorite sayings, and it used to be, well, it is contributed to Albert Einstein. And I had always said, that thing is so slick, it must have come from a black man for real. Didn't I find out a few months ago that Albert Einstein was, in fact, a very close ally to Kwame Nkrumah? So,
all right.
Yeah.
Did he glean that from the tutelage of Kwame?
You know, I would not be surprised. But my point is that, well, I think we are doing the same thing over and over again as a people, and this is why I feel that the results have ended up in there being, additional insanity. The Man-Woman March is very different. It's different, obviously, because it's our women, it's black women. And as you said earlier, my brother, unconditionally so. We don't call ourselves women of color. And I know for some, the terminology black might, be something they don't want to do. Well, we do it intentionally. The mere fact that people don't want to do that is really an indication of some other things. And so this is what we know. No matter what name you're calling yourself or suggest we should call ourselves, there's one thing that we know for certain, that all of those other names based on nationality, based on country, or this, that, or the other, guess what? That was some other name too at some point, you see, 9 times out of 10. So that's not original either. So, but what we do know is this, that physics has a very, not only powerful, but very interesting reality. And until further notice, the most dominant thing in the color scheme of physics is black.
Mm.
You see? And it is said that everything comes from black.
Yeah.
So when we say black, we're not talking about the black code laws or whatever. Oh, come on, please. We're talking about something a whole lot more in-depth, like a black hole. You see?
Right.
And the real reality and the power of black, which is why certain things, even in the system, honors black, while at the same time they try to tell you, oh, no, that's negative, or no, that's not, but yet black robes, black this, black that represents a certain type of distinction or whatever. So, again, we've been tricked and duped, and as a result don't want to deal with fundamentals. And so we use the terminology black for the reasons of, again, it is the most dominant force in the universe, at least as far as we know for right now.
Very true. I think about physics, and we talk about black matter. We talk about black body radiation.
That's right.
These are whether we're talking about the oil in the ground,
That's right. Absolutely.
Whether we're talking about the coal that keeps
absolutely
everything going. If we're talking about economics, you still want to talk about the black card.
That's right. And that's interesting that you said that, because in one of our projects or one of our memberships is called In the Black. And it is for our business people. And it's a national membership that our business folk can join. And we will be showing and telling more about that as we proceed, because we're going to do some boycotting, by the way. And when we do that, we'll be able to send our people to those people who are aligned with us. So you're going to hear more about that at the Million Women March reunion, because we're saying if there's a ban on our brothers when they do the knee, then we need to be banning the products that are being used to advertise the NFL. And that's our plan. You see?
Excellent.
And we're going to kick that off on Black Friday. We've already played. Oh, yeah, they want to play. We're going to play.
I love it. I love it. True. Well, Dr. Lake, do you have time for maybe 2 or 3 more questions, or are you?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. No, never. I'm always busy. You're absolutely correct, because struggle and liberation work and all of that is it is what it is. But I'm always accessible to the people. I've been for 20 years, and that's why when people say to me, "Oh, I didn't know you," it's because you didn't try to know. Because I have the same P.O. box that I had 22 years ago. We've had a radio program for 10 years straight. So if you really was trying to find me or know something about the Million Women March, you certainly could have.
Right. Okay. Well, let me ask you this question, Dr. One of the things, being a black man, oftentimes, we hear about the various struggles and the oppression that our sisters, our mothers and daughters experience. Sometimes we just don't feel empowered, or we don't know where to lend our energy to. What are some ways that you would love black men and be of assistance to support the queens and the sisters?
Well, again, we had hoped that our brothers would, in fact, support us by way of security. That was the initial thing that we had hoped. And, also to help our sisters to come to the event and to be involved in the event. That was one of the things that we had hoped that the brothers would do. And so, we still hope that. But so far it hasn't happened to any degree of reality. And, again, we just hope that it does.
Okay.
But there's some other things, brother. Yeah, let me just say there's some other things, too, and I need to say this because this is not just an event, and we are looking for black men who we definitely want to have as a part of the brotherhood of MWM. And those black men are going to be assisting in other things as we proceed, particularly given the fact that many of our women have children, sons, grandsons, nephews, and so forth. You see? And so there needs to be an interaction.
Feel you on that, 100%. 100% on that. 100%. I think of a lot of the women that I have as friends that, you know, maybe single parenting, but they have, you know, and they're like, you know, well, you know, it's difficult, you know, for this aspect, and, you know, I just kind of wish that, you know, my son or, you know, or daughter just had, like, you know, a strong male presence here in certain situations. So I definitely believe that there's a need for that. True indeed. True indeed. Now, one question I did want to ask you was this. White America is always, as Dr. Francis Consuelo would say, is always planning 24/7, 365. It has three shifts, morning, evening, and night shift that's in constant rotation, planning, plotting, and extrapolating into the future. And I think a lot of times with Black America, we're not all, you know, because we're not a monolith, but there's a good portion of us, we just think in the now. But we have to start being futurists about our presence in the future or face being eradicated the way things are operating, from food to incarceration to systematic police killings to gentrification of communities, the educational system. So how would you, if I was to say, you know what, you could be the painter of a picture of the future, how would you paint the black woman in the future if you were the artist?
Can you hear me?
Oh, I hear you now. I didn't. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying I'm not sure if I can adequately answer that question right now. That's going to take a little more time, and I'm really going to have to run because I do have another interview I have to do. But I'm going to say this. As the mother of civilization, it is all-encompassing, and what that means is that whatever you can think of, that is what I foresee for us in the future, but in every positive, divine kind of way. And so, you know, I'm hoping that you'll invite me back, and I'll be able to really elaborate on what I really mean by that. But I'm going to leave it at that for now.
Oh, definitely. What we could do is we can arrange to get you back on sometime after, you know, this, because everybody's listening next week. It's on and it's popping, as they say. It's on and popping next week.
Yes, indeed.
In Philadelphia. So Philadelphia all next week. You'll want to log on to the website that Dr. Chionesu has told you about. Get the itinerary and make sure you attend the events and activities. And then we can do a recap and see if, you know, your objectives were met and just talk about everything that occurred there. So,
yes.
Dr. Chionesu, I know you got to go, so I'm going to let you go.
Yes.
One more time, just let people know how they can reach you or they can reach that website so they can get to the march and the reunion.
All right, www.millionwomanmarch20.com. You can check us out on Facebook, official Million Woman March, also on Instagram.
All right. Well, Source Radio, we've been blessed by Dr. Phile Chionesu. We give a very big kudos and thank you for her for attending this and putting it out there, making it plain. So we thank her for that, and hopefully we'll get her back sometime in the future. So Source Radio,
right. Thank you.
We're just going to give, no problem. So we're going to thank our sponsors. Our sponsors are Zuliana Health, Wellness, and Fitness, Paper to Film Productions, Revolution Mills, Renovations, Meet My Types Matchmaking, Blend to Blend Juice Bar Boutique, Urban Grandstand Digital, and New Covenant of Praise Worship Center. I'm your host, Dr. Samori Swygert, a.k.a. Doc Swag. You can always reach me every Wednesday, 8 p.m. on the Pendulum, Source Radio Network, and we are out. Peace.
Get at me for beats, yo.